throw balls far. You want good words? Data languager.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Count with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things, whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, you can stay in touch with the show a couple of ways. You can log on to kadsam.com. You can download the app. Man, the app's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News. It's got Big Elk and Paragon TV. Speaking of Big Elk TV, Coach Maynard in here at 9:30 on Wednesday. So we'll talk to the head coach of those Big Elks, gauge his excitement level coming into another season, coming off the first district title in almost a quarter century. A couple of home playoff games, back-to-back semifinal appearances for the brown and white. So we'll pick his brain about what we look forward to seeing here in the fall at Big Elk Stadium. Also, the Skinny on Sports podcast available each and everywhere you can find podcasts. So if you missed one of the shows and you want to go back and see what we had to say, easy to find. Or if you just want to go back, it's something really interested you want to go back and listen again, easy to find. Just go basically anywhere where you can get a podcast, and you can find it there. Good morning, Jared.
Good morning.
So how was your weekend?
It was good. Fishing Derby. Fun. I think it went off pretty good. Don't you?
Boy, I tell you what, I was really excited the way that thing started.
The very first fish that came in?
Well, I mean, in the first 5 minutes, we had a 19-pound catfish, and we had multiple above 2-pound bass. Just bam, 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 bam. And then all of a sudden, just the dangest thing happened.
Turtles.
Everybody started catching turtles.
Turtles were hitting on something on Saturday. Must be the conditions were right, or I don't know.
There was one lady that came by and had a suggestion. Guess what? We weren't the right people to make that suggestion to.
Which the suggestion would be?
Load the turtles up and take them to Elk Lake to get them out so that they wouldn't be, so infested into the pond. Listen, that could be a fine suggestion. I don't know if the people that fish Elk Lake would like that, but we don't run that pond.
Yeah, that's why we catch and release. We put them right back in.
Yeah, the game wardens always say you can keep them if you
really?
want to. Yeah.
Oh.
I know there was a couple pound-and-a-half crappie that I was hoping somebody would let me keep. Holy Moses, slabs were in the house there toward the end of the day. And it was weird because it was later on in the day when those crappie started rolling in. Now, all in all,
I'm not an expert angler by any means, so I wondered if something to do, with the weather conditions, the type of bait that was being used, it just happened to attract the turtles more than anything else.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was trying to think. It seemed like the turtles started getting caught before, because a lot of times, is that the first time you can remember that amount of minnows? H2O brought out so many minnows for the kids.
They brought out a lot.
They brought,
big ones too.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What all they did to help us out this weekend. Thanks to Sean and the gang over there across the street.
Absolutely.
Man, they were awesome. But I was thinking, okay, there's always the worms are always there. But was it a minnow thing? Was it just like the weather? The wind was blowing in a weird way. Is it just we have a giant turtle population in the pond right now? I will tell you this. That 19-pound snapping turtle that somebody caught?
I missed that.
You did not see that?
I didn't see the 19-pound snapping turtle.
Yes.
No. Wow. That's scary.
You think?
I'd say leave that guy alone.
Oh, my gosh.
Did they take it over to the game warden?
Yes, and he held it by its tail.
Yeah, hey, can you get the hook out of this thing?
Yeah, I mean, its mouth was as big as my hand. Like, if I make my hand a fist, his mouth was wide open, and I think I could have stuck it in there. Oh, no. Seeing something like that and where that, that's where I can almost believe there's anything out there. Just because of how, the prehistoric looking those things are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a feeling that thing was disposed of.
That might have.
And if not, it should have been.
Yeah.
That was a major mistake on our part to let that thing back out in the wild, at least right there at that point when all of the children were there. But, 19, I think it weighed like 19.2.
I wouldn't even try to weigh it.
Oh, Jimmy did.
Jimmy was all about it.
They still had it in the net. It was the one it never got out of the net.
Yeah.
Until it went over there to the game wardens, and they drug it out, and they were holding it up, and the kids were taking pictures with it. I just kept on thinking, man, if I don't want to go, if that thing it'd like rip your leg off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I hate that you missed the 19-pound snapping turtle.
I don't know what I was doing. At one point, I ventured off to my truck. Speaking of my weekend, watching my kid who played down in Dallas. So she had one game, so I was kind of watched the first half of my truck. But that was happening at the same time as the kids' casting contest.
It was right in there.
So maybe that's when I missed it.
Yeah, it was right. It was in that neighborhood of time. But anyway, thanks to everybody coming out. It's awesome again.
Yeah, good numbers. The heat wasn't bad. That heat didn't really set in until about mid-afternoon, I don't think. So I don't think the heat had. I was a little worried about that. I thought we had great weather. You stayed in the shade, you were good.
Yeah, there's no doubt that since you and I have come aboard here, the major change in the fishing derby that has helped with that is it's stopping at noon instead of 2, because by 2 o'clock you'd been roasting.
Yeah, and then we've noticed by noon people were leaving anyways. They were moving on.
Yep.
And thanks to Presidio, they cooked some good food for us.
Yeah, they did.
We had Swoda out there doing like origami stuff. That was pretty cool. Who else was out there? We had snow cones. We had some food trucks out there. All of our sponsors. Too many to mention. You mentioned H2O, Supply Menace. Yeah. Very cool. And it's always fun to watch those kids just light up when they catch fish. That's why we call it the Kids Fishing Derby.
I think
all for those kiddos.
4 of the 22 tags were caught.
We had 4. I thought it was just 3. 4?
4.
We didn't on the text line any illegal weights planted in the fish. I think everybody's on the up and up.
Do you?
Sure.
Do you, Jared?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe the guy.
I thought it was incredibly suspicious that at 8 o'clock on the dot we had a 19-pound catfish pulled out of the pond, the city pond.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're going to broach the subject or
not.
Well,
of course I am.
Of what time that thing was turned in.
Right at 8.
Right at 8.
I thought, when I saw it coming, I thought, what in the – there's no way. Now, listen, I do know that people catch fish from other places, and they'll put them – they'll kind of – it's almost like a community stocking of the pond in a lot of ways.
They'll bring them
and put them – let them go into the pond. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
And, right there at the first, it was like boom, 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 boom. Now, I'd have been a lot – here's the thing. Nobody had any idea if there was even a prize for the biggest fish, right? So what was the what was the motivation? Now, if it had a tag in it,
bragging rights.
If somebody would have brought a bucket with 4 tagged fish in them, then I'd have been like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is a little
odd. It
was
funny, the young man, I know him real well, is over there from Canute. Trapper is the best fishing hunting name ever. He brought in 2 fish at a time. And he didn't realize, he was more excited about the untagged fish he caught because it was bigger than he didn't realize he had caught a tagged fish. And even after giving him the $100 bill, I think he was still more happy with the bigger fish.
Yeah, if you wanted the tags, they were on about a half pound to a pound perch. That's the only ones I saw that with tags in them.
Yeah.
That were caught. There might have been some other. Sometimes.
No, I was there when they were tagging them.
That's what they were,
and they were all of that nature. It was pretty. I thought it was kind of the biggest fish we've tagged.
Yeah, there's been some smaller catfish before. They're half a pound or whatever. I know, it's a great time.
Yep,
always great time at the Kids Fishing Derby. A couple of lifetime fishing license given away. One with the drawing. One Riesel was the young man that won the kids casting contest. Only one to get it in the boat into the swimming pool.
Cool.
And then Caleb. We had the dads, the moms and dads had their own casting contest. And Caleb came away with the win. Bunch of bottles of seasoning, a grill, some charcoal that he got to take home.
That was a good little prize right there.
Yeah, pretty good prize pack. We've never really done anything for the parents. It's always been for the kids. So
this works. It was a good idea.
Great deal there. So wrapping that up, it was fun. Okay, so what? That was kind of Saturday morning. Then all of a sudden, by mid-afternoon Saturday into even yesterday, your Rangers have officially just fired it out there. They're going for it.
Yeah, it was funny too because Friday night I was monitoring the Ranger game and got frustrated, and I yelled at my phone, "Trade for a pitcher already!" It's like they heard me, and they're getting Max Sherzer to come on in, and it screams going for it, right? That was the need going in if they wanted to make a run, was to solidify their rotation and their bullpen, which they did that too yesterday, I think. It screams going for it. So although the bats have gone cold, at least this last series they have, I don't doubt they'll come back around, but it is the pitching that, because Evaldi's been put on the IL, which disappoints me because he was on the docket to pitch on this coming Saturday, the game I was going to be at. But now maybe Scherzer could pitch. I don't know how soon that could happen. But that would definitely, if as long as Evaldi is out, Scherzer, if he can be of all-star quality, that definitely makes this team better. So they're definitely going for it. It's exciting. And I think they're done on the trade market. They got exactly what they needed with rotation and bullpen will help. So I'm excited about it. I like the moves. They've all graded out well, everything I've read.
Yeah, this is one of those, man, if I was a Ranger fan, and maybe you don't make this, maybe this move doesn't happen.
If they're not where they're at right now.
Or if DeGrom is healthy.
That too.
And then so you think about, okay, if he could ever be healthy, because Scherzer's going to be there next year also. He went ahead and he had to waive a no-trade clause, which he did, and then he signed up for next year. So the Rangers have him for the remainder of this contract, and they're not paying it all either. So that's a good thing that Texas got out of this as well. But yeah, you think about the possibilities. If you had Uvalde, you had a healthy DeGrom, Scherzer, Jordan Montgomery, all of a sudden, you got guys like John Gray that have pitched well that you're looking for a spot in the rotation for, as opposed, it's amazing how fast things can change.
Yeah, when Gray's good, he's good. When he needs good, he's good. So it turns into what's always been the problem for the Rangers, has been the rotation, has been pitching. It turns them in, if they're good and healthy, and we're talking late next season, because that's about the timeline for DeGrom, if you're lucky, turns them into probably the best rotation in baseball if they're all healthy and playing at that all-star quality like Scherzer we know can, and of course DeGrom. Evaldi was or is an all-star this year. That's a heck of a rotation. Heck of a rotation.
Yeah, the one thing is, so is Scherzer more name than substance?
We're about to find out. Yeah, that's why I said if you get him at all-star quality, he's a future Hall of Famer, easy. But he's given up a lot of home runs this year, so I don't think the Mets were sad to see him go. And the Mets are they're kind of like, all right, let's start over, pushing the reset. You hope that doesn't carry over. Maybe a new, change of scenery, change of uniform. You see that helps people, helps guys. And then maybe it's refreshing for him to go, okay, I'm on a contender now. It's time for me to be Mad Max again. Let's go. So we'll see. And I'm hopeful. I'm crossing my fingers and knocking on wood that I see it on Saturday.
Any worries about what you gave up, and what Acuna could be, considering what his brother is?
Yeah, I know. It is what it is. I'm no worries really. The biggest fear for me was giving up guys that were drafted very high the last 2 or 3 years. Lighter, guys like that. Didn't see those names go, so you're not going to get anything get these guys for nothing. I'm okay with what they gave up. They've drafted well, and their farm system is developed well. So we'll see if those guys that they kept. I'm sure there is inquiries about them, but I'm not too concerned. And then of course, you always worry about you don't want to give a guy like Young or somebody, a hot rookie right now just to get a guy like Scherzer who may or may not be all-star quality to get you over the top, but then you've given up your third baseman that could be a quality guy for who knows how long. And they didn't have to do that.
You know what I think?
What you think?
I think Jordan Montgomery is going to be a more important piece down the stretch than Max Scherzer is.
See that?
I think that
these are all good gets.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And Montgomery's been really good for the Cardinals. So
how cool is it in the AL West? You got obviously Houston, who's Houston. You got Texas, who's telling us this weekend they're going for it. Angels saying we're keeping Ohtani. We're making trades. They made another one this weekend. They're going for it. Mariners are pretty decent. I don't know what they've done in the trade market yet, or haven't really paid attention to them. I mean, I love that as far as divisional competition is concerned. You got a lot of teams that are really, really going, and then there's Oakland. But I love it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the Mariners just had to trade with the Mets.
See, Mets are just, I think they're selling.
Okay,
Clearly, right? They're selling.
Looks like it. So what's next between now and 5 o'clock tomorrow? Speaking of the
baseball, all of baseball.
Yeah, speaking of the Mets,
I think the blockbusters are more or less done. For me, I feel like the Scherzer so far that's been the biggest name moved. I'm not hearing or seeing a lot of rumors about any other bigger names like that.
Well, do you consider Justin Verlander a big name still?
Yeah, is he?
I mean,
he's with the Mets, right? He could probably one out of there. I don't know if he's requested anything.
There's a lot of smoke about him going back.
Going
back to Houston.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at this article, David Schoenfeld has written on ESPN.com, kind of given odds of what might happen with some of the bigger guys. He gives him a 30% chance of being traded, and Houston is certainly right there in that mix. That'd be pretty interesting with those two guys, those two names, getting together, and then now kind of going their separate ways.
I tell you what, man. I also saw an article of the rivalry that is brooding. I mean, it already was a rivalry with Houston and Texas, but now that they're competing for the division, there's a little scuffle at that game 3 of their last series when they met up. I was really hoping that the Rangers would get oh my God, names escape me. He went back to the Dodgers.
Oh, Joe Kelly.
Because of Joe Kelly's personal feud with Houston. How fun would that have been to see him in a Ranger uniform with substance and pitching against Houston late in the year or even in postseason? And giving them that look as he walks back to the dugout.
Some other names. It looks Cardinals are really kind of they're trying to retool without breaking it down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've heard some rumblings last week, going into the weekend of Arenado, Goldschmidt. This article doesn't give that much of a chance to happening, but like Jack Flaherty, 85% chance that he's out of there from St. Louis. The Padres, I think, are really interesting in what they decide they are, what they decide they want to do. Because, think back to the preseason. The Padres were a lot of people's pick to win the whole thing. And they just haven't put it together. But with the amount of talent they have, you can understand that they think, okay, it just takes a couple of really good weeks of baseball. Next thing you know, we're right there. Back in the playoff hunt, back in the wild card hunt. The problem with that is like Blake Snell and Josh Hader both will be free agents at the end of the season. So do you just kind of saddle up and ride whatever momentum you've created now, trying to get to where you thought you'd be and make a playoff run, and then once you get in the playoffs, there's probably not a bunch of teams that want to play you? Or do you try to kind of replenish farm system or what have you by trading those guys that are free agents at the end of the season?
It's almost a mini Ohtani scenario.
Because I've seen Juan Soto's name. Then he's not in this particular article, but yeah, it's like, man,
In this case, I'd say keep them and go for it. You can get the postseason, like you're right. There's a lot of teams that don't want to play those guys.
So they are 5 games. It's almost exactly like the Angels. 5 games back, wild card wise, in the loss column. With now 55 games left. Difference is between the Angels and the Padres. There's only 2 teams that Los Angeles would have to leap in the AL. There's like 4 that San Diego would have to leap to get to that NL wild card. So, and it's not Ohtani. It's just so that's another place to be looking here in the next couple of days. But at least on the surface, you're right. When you start reading these articles about grading the trades and da-da-da, feels like everybody that writes about baseball loves what your Rangers have done so far to kind of stock up to try to make a run at the division and then, of course, get into the playoffs, and who knows what happens from there.
Just get to the postseason, and you never know. Health will play a big factor into it, always does, not just in pitching. I mean, with guys like Garcia, I think still out, a couple others, but just get to the postseason, see what happens. It's going to be a fun run for especially the AL West between Houston and Texas because they're neck and neck at this point.
Yeah, 1-game lead right now for Texas, which that's shrunk considerably.
Well, getting swept by San Diego doesn't help. But,
and you wonder how much that sweep propels San Diego to be more of a buyer than a seller.
Yeah.
Coming up the next couple of days. Give them a little bit of hope that maybe they didn't have going into that weekend. Anyhow, baseball's going to be fun. Have you seen the attendance numbers?
No.
The attendance numbers all across baseball?
No.
They're just skyrocketing.
They're good?
Yes.
Well, good.
Which is nice. I don't know how good the TV numbers are, which kind of matters more, but anyhow, people are actually going to the park right now. MLB attendance is up 9%. That's the high. It's the biggest increase since 1998. And remember what happened in 1998?
Yeah.
Coming off of the strike in 94. 98 is when McGuire and Sosa chased one of the most hallowed records in all of baseball, that single-season home run record that just was passed last year by Aaron Judge of Roger Maris. Yeah, he's now the record holder. I don't know, that 98, just forget about what happened then, or Bonds later on. When your head's as big as a watermelon, it doesn't count.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So, but anyway, yeah, people are going to the games. And you asked me, and this article alludes to it, why? Well, a big part of it, I think, is those pitch clock rules that were implemented for this year. And as of May 31st, average 9-inning game was 2 hours and 39 minutes. That has to be, 30 minutes less than what it has been? I mean, there's no doubt that average was above 3 hours.
Yeah.
Going into this year. So it's had the desired effect in a lot of ways. It's made the game faster, and by the way, it's made it more intriguing for people to go watch. I can't wait for you to be in the stands and see if you notice a noticeable difference in the way that the game is played and how much quicker it goes.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I remember being apprehensive about it, thinking, who cares? I plan, if I'm going to a game, I plan my entire day. I don't care if it lasts 2.5 hours or 3.5 hours. I plan my whole day around it. But it clearly is working. Clearly people are more interested in going to shorter games. I don't think it's affected the quality of play by any means. Do you? I don't. And we're still seeing good.
It was a big deal.
And,
it seemed like it was going to be a big deal back in spring training when you're seeing guys called with third strikes standing there. Mm-hmm. Haven't noticed it near as much as the seasons wore along.
Interesting point was brought up. I was just watching a random game. It was a Mets game, ironically. I think it was like Friday night. I just had it on, or Thursday night. And they were talking about, they were outside. You know, we're in this heat wave across the country. Obviously, they play outside in New York at Shea. Is it still Shea?
No.
No.
Citibank or something like that.
Yeah. But
City Field.
Talking about how pitchers now, because of this pitch clock and playing in heat like that, have to kind of be in better shape because of the pace of play is picked up for them. And they're questioning the quality of pitches about midway through a game when you're pitching in 100-degree heat and having to speed up your process. It was it was just a talking point, and I don't think there's any data to support one way or the other for it, but it's something to think about. But I don't think it affects quality of play. I really don't.
Yeah, the sped up game, I don't either. I also wonder how much the increase is because there's certain places that haven't been very good that are right now, and it seems like kind of baseball towns. Baltimore, the Orioles.
They're good. Yeah.
They're good. Cincinnati hasn't been very good in a while. They're good. Texas hasn't made the playoffs since 2016. They're good. And a new stadium.
It's the first time they're good in this new stadium.
Right.
That is air conditioned, by the way.
See, I think of all the people, of all the fans of baseball teams, Texas fans realize, I do maybe it's not because of the pitch count, but if it's hot, the pitchers wear down in the heat. There's a reason why there's a new stadium there that's air conditioned. Think about, and that's a huge factor. As cool as the ballpark in Arlington was, it's also the hottest place on earth.
Yeah.
And I don't think you see a DeGrom. I don't even think you see a Scherzer if it's still outside and hot. You may not see those guys either agree to sign or agree to waive the no trade clause to go to Texas.
And you probably don't see me going to the game because my wife wouldn't agree to go to a game in August at this point.
Yeah, can you imagine until the last couple of years? Say, you know what I want to do? I think I'll go to a Ranger game in August at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah,
Nope.
No, thank you. It seems like death. Baseball's fun, and it's just going to get more fun coming down the stretch. And I think there's a lot of people really hoping, and I know it is as far as baseball people with the league and all that, really hoping that somehow, some way, you could see the Angels
get to the postseason.
Right. Somehow, some way, get there.
If not them,
at least just for one game, right? At least just to see Ohtani pitch once.
Right. Or what about Cincinnati?
And Cincinnati, I think
that guy, De La Cruz,
yeah.
That dude is getting more popular, and he's turning into that marketable guy. Kind of a guy like, it kind of reminds me of, I'm not comparing his play to him, but like Ken Griffey Jr., how cool he was in his prime when he just the kid who can swing the bat and just play the game. That's what De La Cruz kind of reminds me of. They got an opportunity. Baseball has an opportunity. They've kind of swung and missed with Mike Trout, and hopefully we're not seeing them swing and miss with Ohtani and marketing him. But if they can do it with De La Cruz, it's a good opportunity here.
Yeah, the good news is
love to see him in postseason.
They can't hardly even screw up Ohtani.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They really can't, just because he's such a phenomenon that we just haven't seen. Like, even baseball can't screw that up. No matter how hard they try.
They will try.
All right. Conference realignment. So Colorado officially joined the Big 12 coming up next year at the end of last week. So the Buffaloes will be returning. It's such perfect timing, and I have to wonder how much of this is timing, how much of this was planned by some of the other leagues. Big 12, for instance, with the TV deals changing, the playoffs coming also, the change to the playoff, and then the Pac-12's deal running out. I mean, a huge part of this is because the Pac-12 couldn't get a deal done to lock those guys in. And so now they're essentially free agents because they don't have to pay anything. There's no grant of rights to their media deals because there's not one in place. And so it's really just kind of a free-for-all. Colorado being the first domino. How many more by next year, the first year of the quote-unquote new Big 12? And there's no strings attaching any of those Pac-12 schools to make them stay past this year. So when we're sitting here a year from now, how many teams are going to be in the Big 12?
16.
So you think they had 3 more?
Mm-hmm. They're not going to just settle for 13. And 14 at this point seems like a low number compared, obviously to the Big 10 and SEC. I think there's a strong push for 3 more. Don't ask me who. I have a ranking of who I would think would be awesome in the Big 12 and who we'd want. But I think 3. I think this new commissioner is very proactive. He went and got Deion Sanders in Colorado, which is great we talk about marketing. It's great. I think it's a win-win for both the school and the conference. And 13, just come on. You got to go for at least 14. Again, it's a small number in today's conference world of college football. I think he finds 3 more somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt there would be 1 more.
Right.
The question is it going to be 1 or 3?
I think he'd want to get 3 more, but he
5
might settle with 1.
I think 5 is getting a little much. Not necessarily that they wouldn't do it. I just don't know if you can get agreement. The more you read about, Utah would seem like such a perfect fit.
Why doesn't anybody want Utah? I've been seeing this banter on Twitter.
They don't want
and
any part of being in the conference with BYU, it looks like to me. Just from what I read from fans and some different things being written.
But does that really weigh more than hitching your wagon to a failing Pac-12 conference?
And see, that's I wonder.
That seems too prideful.
I wonder if it's just posturing. But there's no reason to posture. It's not like if you maybe you just don't want to be the bad guy that brings it all down. I don't. But what the heck does Utah have? That's the craziest thing. What allegiance do they have to the Pac-12? They just got in it.
Right.
It'd be one thing if it was like Cal and Stanford, but Utah hasn't been in that league for a decade.
No.
What does it matter?
I mean, they are the reigning Pac-12 champs. Is that something that they think has cachet right now?
It shouldn't. Here's the truth of it. There's an arrogance within the Pac-12, and there has been dating back. Think of how drastically different everything could look starting in 2010, when it looked like some sort of configuration of OU, Texas, OSU, Tech, whatever it was, was heading out there. When Nebraska, Colorado, Mizzou, and A&M announced they were jumping ship. But there was an arrogance about it. No, you're not a Pac-12 school. And then as soon as OU and Texas left the SEC, once again, no, we don't want you. And that's what's going to bring them down. That arrogance. And maybe they don't care. Maybe they're so – but I can't believe Utah is this way. I can believe Stanford and Cal are this way.
Yeah.
We don't care. We're just so much smarter than you. We're so much better than you. Our schools are so much better than yours. But Utah fits in that mold. Arizona, what's Arizona State doing? I just don't get some of it. And maybe they truly believe that they're going to be able to save this thing. I just don't see how. When push comes to shove, it seems like Arizona's might tweet it out at any point that the University of Arizona is headed this way. At that point, how much pressure does that put on Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, Utah? I did see that Oregon State pledged their allegiance to the Pac-12. I bet they did.
Yeah, who wants them?
Yeah, I bet they did.
Who wants Oregon State? Well, good for you, Oregon State.
So it's just, man, maybe it's just posturing. Maybe it's just trying to appease whoever they're trying to appease or not. I mean, obviously it didn't bother Colorado. They just said, you know what? You guys haven't done what you promised. See you, bye. So at the end of the day, 1 or 3.
I'm going to be, okay, I think eventually it will be 3. But if you're asking me for this time next year, they're about to start the new, or they've already about 30 days in. I think 1 more. I think they'll make it 14. So 1 more, I would believe. But it wouldn't shock me to see 3 more.
Yeah,
But that's asking a lot. In less than 12 months to get 3 more.
yeah. There's nothing holding them there.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. This is why this one's so much different than the rest of them. The rest of them took time because, one, it was an extra year ticking off of what you owed with the grant of rights and all that stuff.
No
there is nothing here.
Right.
And you wouldn't think there's any, even if Kleikoff has some kind of TV package, which it's obvious he doesn't have. He might have numbers that are satisfactory for the schools, but he doesn't have the exposure that's satisfactory for the schools. I.e., yeah, he can play ball money-wise with what the Big 12 and the ACC have currently, but it's going to be a lot of streaming and not as much over the air, not in normal ways of being able to watch college football. It's clear he doesn't have that, or he already would have announced it. And then maybe Colorado's not, don't you think that the schools have seen what he's got?
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think?
Not got, yeah.
Yeah, and if he's got nothing, then obviously that changes too. But that's the one caveat in just everybody leaving that conference is, are they trying to talk themselves into, okay, the money's going to be similar, but are we really wanting to go down the streaming road and fully invest in the streaming when everybody else doesn't have to yet?
If they wanted to do the streaming thing, and I've said this years ago, they should have started maybe with Amazon Prime or Roku, I don't know, something, where start their own Pac-12 streaming network that just streams the smaller sports, and maybe archive some games from the past or something like that. Establish themselves as a stream, be a pioneer of it, But to jump headfirst in with, okay, we're going to have our games on this streaming network with Amazon Prime, that's incredibly risky. And you talk about exposure. Not everyone's going to want to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, I always look at it like this sometimes. We've talked about it when the NFL is doing streaming games on Thursday. There's a certain crowd that cannot figure that out. And the Pac-12 has established alumni and fans that have been, dating back, way back, Cal and Stanford rivalry and all that. They're not going to want to. You're going to lose them.
I mean,
if you're trying to stream stuff,
the NFL is unbeatable, and I think they found out just a little bit of that. They got the money, but I think they found out a little bit with that Amazon Prime. Like, it's not 10 years from now. That may be the only way we're watching it.
Yeah.
But right now, it's still kind of, it's not quite it, man. And that's just consuming the games just to consume them and watch them. Then you throw a whole nother layer onto this when you think about the gambling aspect of everything in sports and how, gosh, it's so you can literally make live bets as the score changes, and how much the lag and some of the streaming really hurts that product. And everything's kind of so tied in together. I think it's 3. I think they end up with 3. Now, rank, if you were Brett Yormark, rank what's left out there.
What's the draft board look like for
yes.
him? Who's number 1 on his list? Who he should go get? Well, it's all about the money, and it's about being in places the Big 12 is not. And they're not on the West Coast. They're kind of on the East Coast with West Virginia. So keep that in mind. And then quality of school. And not just school, but athletic program, obviously. I would start with Oregon. I think that would be the guy. Because of, I think, the most obtainable school, more likely to pick up the phone and listen to you. And, of course, the quality of the athletic program. You get Nike. You get the West Coast, Northwest region. So that would be my number one go-to school to try to get if I'm your Mark.
I think I agree. But I wonder if we put too much stock in the on-field, on-court, Nike, when we think about Oregon. I was listening to Gottlieb the other day and talking about this exact with Mark, and he had Oregon pretty like he didn't even know if it was a good idea for the Big 12 because they don't bring what you think they bring, if that makes sense. You know, you'd think they would be for sure the prize. I would. But then when he started mentioning, you know, it's a small market. How much do they really care outside of Nike? It's a small stadium. You know, Autzon's loud, but it's not very big. And then it's, you know, the travel part of it, which I think eventually we're just going to have to get over that, right? We're going to have conferences spanning and this one would, from Orlando, Florida to Portland, Oregon. I mean, it's hard to get too much further away from each other than that in the United States. So I would agree. I think the cachet of Oregon, the coolness of Oregon, to me, they are number one, and I just don't see how it could be anybody else.
Number two for me. Now we're going West Coast, and we're hyper focusing on Pac-12 because they just seemed more obtainable. You can just get them because of the TV deals we're talking about. But a school that's not incredibly happy with their conference and maybe looking around, or they just might be holding out for the SEC, but you might pick up the phone and try to call Florida State. See what their interest would be. Go, hey, Big 12, we're just got in the state of Florida. Why don't you be the big dog Florida's team in the Big 12?
See, I was only thinking West. But
I look at this question like everybody, all over the place.
I don't think there's a couple of problems. One, how in the world are they going to pay to get out of their deal that runs through 2036?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the crazy thing. The Big 12 just inked a brand new TV contract. Guess what? They get to do it again before the ACC does. They're going to have two before the ACC is out of this long-term deal, which we know Florida State's unhappy with. We've seen people down there. That's an interesting one. I just stayed west. My next one would be Washington. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like Oregon and Washington. They really feel like they're more of a package than anybody else out there, right? If you get one, you're going to get the other. Pacific Northwest. And both strong. Washington's got a really strong tradition in football.
Oh, yeah, they do.
You know, and so that's where I would go. And then the one that I think is about to happen, let me ask you, would you go Arizona State or Arizona first?
Arizona.
Just because you can get them?
Well, once in a blue moon, they're okay in football, but you get the basketball program, which I think Mark really likes. I think he takes a lot of quality in the basketball. I mean, he sees what he's got. I got Kansas. I'm getting Houston, Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much
OSU.
I wish we were just a little bit more plugged in that way, because I wonder. I mean, to me, it seems like if you get Arizona, you get Phoenix. But is that true? Tucson's quite a ways from there, and it's a much smaller place, whereas Tempe is basically Phoenix with Arizona State right there. I would have said Arizona State, but I get the basketball for sure. I mean, the Wildcats have been one of those teams ever since we've been alive. It's just kind of been either really, really good or pretty good for a majority of our lifetime, at least in basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two would be there, and then I guess Utah somewhere after that.
Yeah, I got Utah in there. I mentioned Florida State because of how they're unhappy with the ACC, and again, I really think they're just waiting for something to work out for them to join the SEC. But imagine getting Miami, too. Imagine getting the Florida State-Miami rivalry in a conference, in your conference. How fun would that be?
Clemson's there.
I mean, Clemson,
North Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, the ACC isn't as on stable ground as some would think. There are schools that are, like you mentioned, the TV deal. They're not happy with it, so they could be. I mean, they'd listen, but the realistic, obtainable schools are those Pac-12 schools.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because a big part of it is them not having to pay a dime to leave.
Right.
Yeah, here's the text. I watch all day Saturday college football. But with the TV changes and some of the streaming, I may just be able to watch my guys. Be able to find, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And how many viewers does that lose? That's a great question. Yeah. Because part of it, I agree with some of it, but then you look on the other side. So you're gaining an NBC night game for the Big Ten. That's never been, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, there's the major networks, 4, 5, and 9, will all have something.
Yeah,
Fox have some, you know. So that'll be, but those are going to be showcase games for at least out of this area. Very rare will you see Oklahoma or Oklahoma State in one of those. It would have to be a non-conference thing before it gets started. So it's going to be something to watch for sure, because I think the conferences and I think the networks feel like they're improving just because they're using the bigger channels. But when you slash your audience of, say, 1.3 million down to 600 grand because people can't find it where they're used to finding it, how long does that take for just to go, okay, see you, bye, and lose them forever? Now, last one, because you mentioned Florida State, some wild Big Ten rumors out there.
I haven't heard these. Help me out here.
I've read a couple of different things. One, that the Big Ten this week will add Oregon, Washington, Florida State, and Clemson.
So no, whoa. What?
Yeah. Oregon, Washington, Florida State, and Clemson, which would get them to, what, 20? Because there'll be 16 with USC and UCLA coming in.
Okay.
I've seen that one. It's long been rumored, though, that like North Carolina would be toward the top of the Big Ten wish list. Big school, state school. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's more of the Big Ten model of schools, like North Carolina, Virginia. Big, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The school. But yeah, I saw that one, which would be crazy. Don't Florida State and Clemson, don't they feel like they're destined to be in the SEC if everything goes to breaking up?
Yes.
I think so too. I don't know about Miami, just because it's small private school the way it is. That doesn't really fit the SEC model much, right? Vanderbilt's not. They're it.
I don't know. Miami, maybe.
But I think they would be behind Florida State and Clemson, at least in the SEC mind, on their wish list.
Yeah.
Last one, then we got to take a break because we're about to run out of time. Where's Notre Dame end
up? In South Bend.
Never joining a conference ever.
You talk about that pompous pride attitude. Come on. That's Notre Dame's forte. They're like, hey, we've been good without a conference all this time. Why join now?
There's only one way that would happen.
You know, none of these rumors involve Notre Dame.
No. The only way they're joining is if they have to. If they're left out.
Yeah.
Once you get the playoff stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's hard to see it, right?
Yeah.
We're going to be able to welcome back the Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em Contest. Tyler, Robbie, all the gang down at Western Oklahoma Realty, people before property, is their motto. They will be with us throughout the season. For those of you that did play this game last year, it's going to be exactly the same way. We're picking winners against the spread all year long. Not going to tell you what the prize package is just yet before I get it completely firmed up, but let me promise you, it is going to be a good one. a very good prize pack for this year. Just got in the process of getting that set back up. Once we do, we'll announce it right here. We'll put it on our Facebook page to give you an easy link to sign up and play along. Games start the first week is September the 2nd, so that Labor Day weekend will be the first. Won't pick week 0 to pick week 1. So Western Oklahoma Realty College Pick'em coming back with a improved prize package for the winner. It's going to be a lot of fun. What we have, like 80-some played last year?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to guess we get into triple digits this time. Starting to talk about it a little bit early, and I'm telling you, you were going to be shocked when you hear what the winner's going to get.
It's a big secret?
It is right now because I haven't. It's just
still got to confirm it.
It's been mentioned to me that people want to give stuff.
Oh, I love it.
I just got to nail that down.
I love it.
Nail that down so that we can announce it. But like I said, I'll get that set up here today, tomorrow. Start firing it out there for everyone to get signed up. An easy link out there, and we'll have fun with that all year long, like we did last year. Thank you to Tyler. Thank you to Robbie. Thank you to everybody down at Western Oklahoma Realty for participating with the contest again this year. All right, Jared, college football will stay here. There's something that's really starting to bother me.
Yeah, what is this?
As we head into the college football season. Starting to see different lists and different rankings of teams, of players. And I've seen multiple rankings of top whatever, 10, 15, 20, whatever, of the best quarterback in the nation coming into this season. I know people around here don't like him. I know people around here felt betrayed by what he did. But, Jared, is it anything but just being contrarian to be contrarian to name anybody not named Caleb Williams as the number one quarterback going into college football this season?
It's to get the clicks and to get the reaction and to all of that. Or you just, for some reason, well, if you're an OU fan, you have reasons like you mentioned, just because you don't like the kid, so you're not going to put him at number one. But come on, he's the returning Heisman winner. His skill set, we've seen it here in or saw it here at OU. We saw what he did at USC. Without him at USC, kind of like when he came in for the Sooners, they're maybe a 7-win team.
We saw it.
Exactly.
Listen,
who is putting this? Who's putting?
I've seen 2 or 3 different ones just kind of pop up on Twitter of guys that want to rank. Mike Farrell was one of them, and then I'm thinking, okay, he's been a Rivals guy for all this time. Is he just ranking Drake May high because he had him high coming out of high school and he wants to show that he's right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, but I mean, how high did he have Caleb Williams?
Oh, man, he was high on everybody's list coming out.
Right. So that's just silly to me.
It's very silly.
It's just contrarian to be contrarian because – and I might be able to give the benefit of the doubt if you wanted to talk about like pro prospects and for some reason Drake May's higher in somebody's mind than – you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But not in college football. The guy won the Heisman Trophy last year with the team that the year before him had 4 wins. And if that's not enough for you, the team that he left went from 11-2 to 6-7, and I think we could all agree that if Caleb Williams would have been the quarterback at OU, they win 3 or 4 of those games because we saw him do it the year before.
Right.
Games that OU never should have won. He pulled out of the fire. Just him by himself with crazy plays we've never seen. And so it's just bothering me.
I wonder if they're playing the odds. Now, again, it's not a list of Heisman contenders.
See, if it was that, I wouldn't have such a problem.
Because it's hard to win it 2 in a row. It's only happened one time. 2-time Heisman winner. It's only happened one time. And there's been other opportunities, and it just hasn't happened. So there's probably that anticipation of a down year compared to his Heisman year. But that's not what this list is. The list is who is the best quarterback going in, and he should be leaps and bounds the number one guy. Completely agree with that. And for the record, I don't not like Caleb Williams. I didn't like the situation of how it went down. He tried his best to save face on that deal. Played the bowl game, all of that. But, so just for the record, I just, have more disdain for Lincoln Riley in the way he handled
for sure.
it. But,
for sure.
And I get as a career thing, you follow the guy who recruited you. I totally get that.
Yeah, Billy's right. Some people won't vote for him, maybe even because he would win it back-to-back. There's a lot of weirdness with that.
Yeah.
Also, with the conference realignment talk, Bill's exactly right. The networks have probably talked to the Pac-12 schools about moving to the Big 12. They have. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
And probably talk to the Big 12 about which one they'd rather have. All the way around. No doubt about it.
Yep.
No doubt about it. It'll be an interesting next week or so. Because I think you'll see. I think Arizona. That's announcing just everything that I've read. The next day too. By Wednesday, I think Arizona is there. And now the question becomes: is that it, or will we see a couple more? And I wonder at this point if the Big 12. Is it Oregon, Washington, or bust? If they can't get Oregon and Washington, would they take Arizona State and Utah?
Oh, why not? I mean, they went and got – but that was a different commissioner. But they got Houston, Cincinnati, Central Florida.
Yeah, but now they have power. Now they have leverage.
Yeah, now they do have a lot of leverage.
Yeah, they're not the desperate guy at the end of the night at this point. They're that cool dude dancing around with all the hot ones early on in the evening. Mm-hmm. Be a little bit more selective. Or maybe they don't want to be. It's going to be fun. It is going to be fun. And that'll do it. Don't forget, I'll get that set up. Western Oklahoma Realty Pick'em coming back at you for the college football season. Coach Maynard coming up Wednesday at 9:30. Everyone have a wonderful Monday. Try to stay cool out there. Stay hydrated. We'll be back tomorrow. Skinny on Sports.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way